Perfect.
All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. Of course, this show we cover the SWAC inside and out, and I'm your tour guide around the SWAC. See what's coming at you. And as you can see on the screen today, man, it's time to talk a little Southern Jaguar football, man. Our 2023 Southern Jaguar preview is here. We're going to talk some Southern football and see what my thoughts are for the Jaguars upcoming season. I guess I might want to throw this PSA out there, man. If I don't say things the way you want me to say them, man, please do not question my SU loyalty. I'm always Southern, man. I'm Southern probably longer than some of y'all. It's in my blood. It's on my body. I'm Jaguar all the time, but I'm gonna say what I feel. If I feel like certain things aren't looking good at the moment, I'm gonna say it, man. I'm not gonna pump sunshine on nobody. I don't do it for nobody else's team, so I'm not gonna do it for my team. So I just want to throw that out there before anybody say anything about me not liking Southern because I make a prediction that you don't like. So that's just a disclaimer. I'm throwing that out there right now because it's kind of funny when I get those. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Also, man, y'all go ahead and check out those socials. Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram SWAC Talk, X, Twitter, whatever the heck it is. SWAC Talk 76 is that site. Like them, follow them, the whole nine. Got the last remaining previews, the dates on those on the sites. TSU coming on Wednesday, Sunday. UAPB wraps up our preseason previews, man. Then we'll start to get ready for week 0 a week or so after that. Also, man, don't forget to like the video, hit that notification bell. Feel free to comment and hit that subscribe button, man. If you've already subscribed, I want you to consider hitting that join button and becoming a member. We're gonna be doing a lot of good things when the season rolls around. Gonna try to do our own HBCU weekly poll. I'm gonna try to do something like that. Do some pick'ems and different things like that. So if you want to be a part of that, man, hit that join button on the page. We got a couple different tiers that you can rock with, and we'll definitely appreciate it. Also, we got that we got the merch out, man. We got our young man's is ready shirt, man. So if you want to be on the young man's movement, we got our young man's is ready shirts. We also still got SWAC Talk shirts and different things in the store. You can click that link on the page on the video here. You can click that and check out the merch that we have. If you want to be a part of the SWAC Talk fam. So, man, with that being said, man, let's go ahead and let's just start. Let's just start talking Jags, man. We're gonna go ahead and jump into this. We're not wasting no more time. Southern finished 7-5 last season, man. 5-3 in conference. Depending on how you look at it or whatever, they either backed into the championship or they got there, by virtue of being the last team standing. However you want to look at it, they made the SWAC West Division champ. They were the SWAC West Division champs for the first time since 2019. Had 2 losses to JSU last season, both of them in pretty brutal fashion. But this team does return a lot of key guys. They do have some talent that is waiting in the wings. So the cupboard is not necessarily bare. Southern is a weird team to me. Depending on who you talk to, some people feel like Southern may be one of the better teams in the conference. Then some people feel like Southern don't have any talent, which I think that I don't agree with that at all. Southern has a lot of guys coming back. They brought in some guys who have talent. They have a few guys who didn't play last season who are back, who were very good in previous years. So there is talent. Obviously, the quarterback is the question at hand. Everything else is pretty solid. looking at this team last season, they were a mixed bag, man. I mean, um, they when they were good, they were good. When they were bad, they were offensively. When they were bad, they were bad. They finished second in the league in scoring offense at 31.7 points per game, third in scoring defense at 21.8. Total offense, they were second at 398 per game, 44 touchdowns and 6.2 yards per play, which was the highest number in the league. Defensively, they also were second, 301 yards per game, 4.6 yards per play. Rushing offense, they were second at 201 yards per game, and they finished with 5 yards per carry. Defensively, they actually led the league in rushing at 112 yards per game, 3.3 yards per carry. Passing offense, they were sixth in the league at 196 yards per game. They completed 57% of their passes, 19 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Fourth in passing defense, 189 yards, allowed 19 touchdowns and had 13 interceptions, allowed 56% completion rate. Defensively, they registered 44 sacks on the season. With the second, the offensive line allowed 27 sacks, which was sixth in the league. They were third in interceptions at 13. Conversions, they led the league in third down conversion rate at 44%. Defensively, they were second at 32%. Fourth down conversions, they were seventh at 40% defensive. Fourth down, they were fourth at 36%. This was like I said, when the team was good, they were good. They finished the season. They did rack up some penalties. They finished seventh in penalties at 71.3 yards per game. They were fourth in total penalties at 104. The opponents were penalized 54 yards per game and 73 total penalties, which was the second fewest. So Southern's opponents didn't really get penalized at all hardly last season. Southern finished fourth in red zone offense at 32 of 43 for 74%, 25 touchdowns, 15 rushing, 10 passing. They were 7 of 9 on field goals. They turned the ball over 7 times in the red zone, 1 fumble, 1 interception, and 5 turnovers on downs. Ironically, I think 3 of those 5 happened in the TSU game, so that game really is a sore spot. 8 in red zone defense, 31 of 40 for 77%, 24 touchdowns, 10 rushing, 14 passing, 7 of 9 the field goal for the opponents. 6 turnovers for them, 4 fumbles, 1 interception, and 1 turnover on down. So you would love to see the red zone defense get a little bit better. Returning leaders on in terms of team leaders, the rushing attack took a big hit. You lost your 3 top leading rushers. Kendrick Grimes is the leading returning rusher with 352 yards and 5 touchdowns. He averaged 4.6 yards per carry. Obviously, you don't have a returning passer in terms of anybody with any major yardage right now. Harold Blood is the leading returner, 11 of 19 for 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, along with 48. A receiving core is a bit better. You return actually pretty much your top 4. 3 of your top 4 receivers return, so you have a lot of experience there. That's definitely a key for you on the passing game side. Defensively, your leading tackler returns. Jalen Campbell with 82 tackles. He finished with 14 tackles for loss, which also tied for the team lead. And he was second in sacks with 56. With 6. You also returned your sack leader in Taj Brown with 6.5. He also had 11.5 tackles for loss. Kelby Gibbons was your third leading guy in sacks at 5.5, so you return that as well. He also returns 10.5 tackles for loss. You did take some big losses on the D line. You lost Trey Lang, Jordan Lewis, Cam Peterson, and Jason Dumas. Basically, that is your starting D line off of chunks of the season. Taz Brown did start at different places in the season, so him and Gibbons registered some key time on the D line. What you're feeling, you did have some big holes, especially in the middle of that defense and on your pass rush. So the D line is definitely a focal point. Um, Jordan Carter is your leading returning interceptor with 3. Christian Davis has 2. So you do return 2 of your top 3 guys in interceptions. The secondary should be pretty solid. We'll talk about that in a few. You return all your specialists. Robin Beauplan, Mr. Goldenfoot, averaged 40 yards per punt on the season, had a longer 59, so he returns. Joshua Griffin finished the season at 6 of 9 on field goals. He returns. He was 2 of 3 for 20 to 29 yards, 2 of 2 from 30 to 39, 2 of 4 from 40 plus. With a longer 42, he did have 1 block, and he also was the leading kickoff guy. He had 31 touchbacks on the season, so definitely a guy I call him Mr. Touchback. So he definitely was a weapon in the kickoff game. And so that base, there's a lot of things that return. There's obviously some big holes to fill on the D line. The offensive line returns 4 guys who started at different points in the season. Developing that depth is going to be key. Getting that chemistry right on that O-line for the whole season is definitely going to be a key, because you're losing basically the last remnants of that great Southern offensive line from like 2018 to 2021. The last remnants of that line left last season. So you're starting over in a sense, but you do have a lot of guys that played last season and actually got some starts. So there is experience on the line, but there's still some spots to fill there. Offensively, according to the SWAC Talk unofficial starter tracker, 7 offensive starters, 7 defensive returning. Obviously, that's very unofficial. The quarterback is the question for everybody, whether you're a Southern fan or you're not a Southern fan. Quarterback is obviously where most people are curious about. Multiple names in that list. Harold Blood right now seems to be the guy in the lead. Dylan Marotra is a guy who transferred from UAB. I think he may be the second guy right now. He was a little injured in the spring. Came in right before the spring, got nicked up in practice. Didn't really get a lot of reps. Noah Biden is a wild card in that mix. And then you have the 2 freshmen, Jalen Woods and Xavier T-Set, who I think will be able to challenge for the job. But I think right now, this is Harold Blood's job to lose heading into the season. So that takes me to my first thought for Southern, and that's establishing your quarterback early and being able to develop that chemistry with your wide receivers and your tight ends. Your wide receiver core is like I said, it's solid. I won't say it's one of the best in the league, but it's in that mix of a lot of guys who have the talent. Last season, the passing offense obviously was not that great. It was not consistent, especially in the later portions of the season. But there is talent at the receiver core. You have Cassius Allen, who has been on a few all conference lists. August Pete, who's another big guy. Both those guys are like 6'4", 6'5". You definitely have those 2 guys as weapons. George Qualls, who's a transfer from UT Martin. He's 6'3", 190. He's gonna be in the mix at that spot. Ed McGee's a guy who got a little bit of playing time last year from Southeastern. You can count on him to be in the mix. Jalen Howard, who's a guy who transferred from Prairie View. He's definitely a speed guy who's going to be in the mix. Chandler Whitfield was another guy who made a lot of plays for Southern in the passing game. Tyler Kirkwood, Kobe Washington, who's also a Prairie View transfer. They do have a lot of guys to look out for at that spot. Tight end, I would love to see some of those guys get some more work, but that's going to depend on how the offense clicks. Harold Rose and Dupree Fuller are the 2 guys to look out for at tight end. Running back took a little bit of a hit due to attrition. You lost, at least for the season, you lost Gerard Sims, who was hurt toward the end of the last season, but was for most parts of the season one of the top rushers on the team. He's out this season. and you lose Carl Egan, who was a promising young back. I was surprised. I don't know what's going on with him, but he is not on the team this season. So that opens up some spots. Like I said, Kendrick Grimes is your is an all-purpose type of guy. You can line him up outside at wide receiver, or you can hand him the ball out of the backfield. He has really good hands. You can catch the ball out of the backfield. Like I said, you spread him out. He runs really well. You added Garrett Quarles from Alabama A&M, who definitely can be a big threat in this offense. Can run the ball, can catch the ball. I think a guy like that makes a great change of pace guy. At A&M, Maynard really he likes to have one guy carry the ball, honestly, and I think a guy at Garrett Quarles' size is not an every down guy. So if you can work him in a rotation, I think that helps a lot. Kobe Dillon is a guy who a lot of people have been waiting for. He missed the all season last year with a knee injury, but he had a really good season in 2021. Actually had a huge game against Pine Bluff in 2021. Ran the ball really well in that game, over 200 plus yards in that game. So definitely a guy who can carry the ball. Was a converted quarterback, but he was able to get some playing time at running back due to injuries and suspensions and things in 2021. I still feel like he's learning how to play the position. So definitely got a lot of potential out of him. Hopefully he can bounce back from his injury. He was the leading rusher in 2021, finished with 629 yards and 8 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns, at a longer 75 on the year. And that's he was a guy who only played in 8 games. So he can, if he's healthy, he can definitely rack up the yards. C.J. Russell's another guy who came over from Grambling, who can be in the mix in the run game. There's guys who can carry the ball. Also, Braylon Morgan's another guy who can make some things happen. He's a more all-purpose type of guy. So the running game is pretty solid. Like I said, quarterback is obviously the biggest question mark on the offense. Offensive line, I think, will be solid. Developing that quarterback and his chemistry with everybody else is definitely going to be the key. I don't think you need to be a guy who has to make all the plays at offense. You just have to be consistent, and that's what Southern did not have last season. Southern consistency in scoring is obviously the biggest question mark for Southern. Southern averaged 11.4 points per game in losses, and they averaged 46.1 points per game in wins. That's a 35-point difference, and obviously you factor in that 86 points that you put on Carter Memorial and the 51 you put on Virginia Lynchburg. But in the other wins, they scored no less than 21 points. 21 points was actually the lowest they scored in a win. You had 34 against Grambling, 59 against Pine Bluff, and 45 against Prairie View. So the offense was capable of scoring points, and 27 against Valley. The offense was capable of scoring points, but when the offense was off, they were very off. And a lot of that, stems from a young quarterback, a guy who may not have been that comfortable in a role. And you're still going to have that with these quarterbacks because they're not that experienced. But hopefully, some of the play calling can adjust for that, and some of the guys' natural ability can, kind of get that out of the way because, no matter what, no team should get shut out twice. That's just not, that should never happen to anybody. Teams like Pine Bluff didn't get shut out once or twice last season. Southern got shut out for the first time last season since 2017, and they suffered their first SWAC shutout since 2012. Just a random tidbit. Southern had been shut out like 4 times since like the 90s, and 2 of those shutouts were the Valley. Oddly enough, I think one year they lost the Valley 7-0, and one year they lost the Valley 6-0. But this offense definitely needs to be able to score points regardless in wins or losses. And that put a lot of pressure on the defense because the defense allowed 9.1 points per game in those wins. So they scored a lot of points and they were able to stop teams from scoring. They allowed 39 points per game in losses. So as you can see, they won all of their games in blowouts. They only had one victory by by less than double digits, and they had no losses by less than double digits. So they either blew you out or they got blown out. So there needs to be some consistency in there in all aspects of the team. On the defensive side of the ball, you want to maintain that pass rush. Obviously, you're replacing some key guys at those positions, but you return some guys who were capable of rushing the passer. So you definitely want to kind of continue that. You want to continue your great special teams play. Everybody, all your specialists were all conference preseason, so you want to maintain that. You definitely need to cut down on the penalties, especially the offsides. Offsides were a huge thorn in Southern side last season. If you look at the FAMU game, they extended multiple drives because of offsides penalties. And early in the season, that was a huge problem. We want to see that be cut down. I think the secondary is going to be a strength on this team, and everybody in that secondary has started games at Southern. Dimitri Marcel, the guy who transferred from Bowie State but did not play last season, he's definitely going to be a factor in that secondary. Johnson and Davis at corners, Carter and Marcel will most likely be your safeties. St. Charles Justin will be your nickel corner. So the secondary should be a strength. And that's pretty much where the team stands. It's a simple thing for Southern. You have to be consistent. You have to play smart. You have to start games fast, and you have to be able to survive adversity and keep yourself in games. Not allow things to build up and end up with games where you don't score points or you score very few points by putting your defense consistently in bad spots. Looking at the schedule, and this schedule is basically an all SWAC schedule, so it's tough it's tough because it's all conference games, and every game on the schedule is winnable, and every game probably except for one is losable. So when you look at this team, there are a lot of toss-up games, and that toss-up games are in the eye of the beholder, and you can kind of go one way or the other with those. But looking at the schedule, you open up on September 2nd at Alabama State. Definitely going to be a tough game. Both teams trying to figure out themselves on offense. Both teams pretty solid on defense. I think this game is probably not going to be a very high-scoring game. I think this may be a sloppy type of game. Whoever probably has the ball wins. The special teams edge, I think, in this game goes to Southern, so that should help. But this will be a game where whoever's offense can manufacture enough points and defenses could force a few turnovers, that team is going to win. I like Southern in this game, just like I said, probably mainly because of the special teams difference. I think that can be a big factor in the game. In a game like this, you have a really solid punter who can flip the field for you and force the other team to have to drive long distances. That can help your offense kind of find their way. And being able to score field goals is probably going to be a key factor in a game like this. So I like Southern in that game. The next game is September 9th at home against Jackson State. This is a game I've gone back and forth all the time. Obviously, I think either team can win this game. I think a lot of what depends on this game depends on how JSU handles their first couple games and how Southern handles that first game. If either one of these teams comes in hot, I think that team will probably win this game. If either team comes in struggling, there's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a close game. I said in my JSU preview, I think this will be a typical Southern Jackson game that comes down to some late plays. I just really don't. I have confidence in Southern to win the game, but I have questions with how this team looks against Bama State, especially at the quarterback position. This is a tough game to get up for emotionally coming off of that game, and this will be an emotional game. I picked JSU to win this game, but I do think Southern has a chance to win this game. Obviously, like I said, a lot of what goes on in this game is going to depend on what JSU does in their first two games. So this was just mainly a flip of the coin for me. September 16th, you play Alabama A&M at home. This is a sneakily tough game. Alabama A&M offensively should be better. Defensively, we don't know exactly where they're going to be at. But I think Southern can survive this game one way or the other. I think they have enough, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think they have enough to slow down the Bulldogs, and I think the offense is capable enough to be able to manufacture the points they need to get them a victory in this game. After off week on the 23rd, they go to Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff's a total. Who knows? But I think Southern wins that game. It could be a tougher game because it's in Pine Bluff. Or Pine Bluff could be, who knows? But I think Southern wins that game. October 7th, they come home and face FAMU. If you've heard me talk about Southern FAMU, then you know I've said for a long time FAMU's been a thorn in Southern side. I just don't know what it is. It doesn't matter who's the coach. It doesn't matter who are the players. Southern just does not fare well against FAMU, and it's tough for me to pick Southern to win this game off of that. FAMU could be playing some really good football at this point, or who knows if they lose to JSU, who knows where they end up, mentally. But I think, on paper, FAMU is a very good team. FAMU is picked by most people to win the SWAC. So strictly off that point, I got FAMU winning that game. I just don't know how Southern can solve the FAMU mystery. I hope they do at some point, but right now I just can't sit here and say they will. October 14th is homecoming against Lincoln. That's a game that you have to win. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You got to win that game, and you got to win it comfortably. October 21st, you're at Bethune-Cookman, where you're playing Bethune-Cookman in Jacksonville. Again, Bethune-Cookman's a wild card. We don't know what the hell Bethune-Cookman has. We don't know how good or bad they will be. But this is a trap game because you have Texas Southern the following week. So this is a game you definitely, you need to be 100% focused because we don't know what Bethune-Cookman is, what they will be. And you have 4 tough games after this. So, you don't want to get caught looking ahead. But I think Southern wins that game. And like I said, October 28th, they get Texas Southern at home. TSU is going to be a great team. I think they're going to be in the mix. I'm going with Southern, man, because I'm tired of picking TSU to beat Southern. I'm tired of, what I'm saying? Those 2 losses, man, they sting. And it's time for Southern to get back on that one. But TSU can win this game. TSU would not be a pushover. They've beaten Southern twice. They know what it takes. They know what it feels like. But this is a true road game for them. And this is the first time that this team would play at Southern. So, who knows? Maybe that home environment can help Southern get over the hump. But I'm going Southern with that one. November 4th, they're at Alcorn, another place that Southern just does not typically do well. Haven't played there since 2019. Only last time they won that was in 2016. I did pick Alcorn to win the West, so I'm picking Alcorn to win this game. This could be the game that makes or breaks the division for everybody. So depending on how Southern's playing, this could be a winner take all type of game. I don't discount that for either team. But I think I picked Alcorn primarily because they're playing at home, which is somewhere that Southern hasn't won very often, and B, because I picked Alcorn to win the West. So just being consistent. November 11th, they get Prairie View at home. Prairie View's they're gonna come in trying to atone for the beating they took last season, and they could be playing for a spot in the SWAC championship as well. I think Southern will win this game because I think Southern defensively it should be better than Prairie View is right now defensively, and I think Southern can stop the run in this game, and also I think can make some plays if they're playing well enough. And that takes us to our traditional pre-Bayou Classic bye week, and then November 25th they play Grambling in New Orleans. This should be a fun game. Last season, a lot of people feel like Grambling let their game slip away. Grambling could be playing a lot better at this point. Grambling's another wild card type of team. I think I think Grambling's going to be much improved. Some people feel like Grambling may not be that good this season. I think they'll be improved, and I think this will be another tight Bayou Classic. But I think Southern will win it at the end and finish with a record of 8-3, 6-2 overall. There's like I said, man, there's a lot of toss-up games on this schedule. Pretty much other than probably Pine Bluff, Lincoln, and Bethune-Cookman, I think every game else is a toss-up game. So, you can rearrange these games any way, shape, or form. I picked Southern Civil at 9-2. I mean, if you were a super optimistic, super blue and gold glasses person, you could say 11-0. But I'd never pick anybody to go undefeated. I wouldn't pick this team to go undefeated because I think this team has a lot of questions. And having questions doesn't mean you're bad. It just means you have questions. I mean, they could easily be answered. But I think this team is a team that'll probably top out at 9-2 because Southern and Coach Dooley in general drops a game or two that they shouldn't, and I see that maybe that would be the case in one of these games. You have some tough games. You have games like Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Texas Southern, Prairie View. Those are games that, I got Southern winning, but those are games that I got Southern could be losing. All the wins that I have for Southern could easily be losses, and the losses could be wins. So that, it's kind of like jumbling it up and pulling it out the hat. So I picked 9-2 as the ceiling, but I got the floor at 6-5. Again, that's just flipping a few of those toss-up games from wins or losses. I don't really see the team finishing less than that. If this team finishes 5-6 or worse, then obviously something went horribly wrong with everything. So I think this is a team that's gonna be in the mix. I mean, obviously, I think 2 losses can get you to the SWAC championship game this season. So finishing 8-3 doesn't necessarily mean you're out of the mix. It puts you right in the mix. 6-2 puts you right in the mix. So I think this is a team that's gonna challenge for the championship. I don't feel comfortable putting them at number 1. I'd rather put somebody else at that spot, let them carry those preseason expectations. I prefer Southern to be picked to finish second or third, because I just feel like sometimes it's better when you're trying to develop your team. I think it's better to go in with not as high expectations, and then you can exceed those. It's tougher to come in with expectations and match them. When you don't have 100% knowledge on your team. So I think this is going to be a really good team. I think it may take a few weeks for this team to get going. I think the early portion of the season is going to be challenging. Those first 3 games are going to all be tough. They can all be won. They can all be lost. But those first 3 games, I think, are going to set the tone for this team, no matter how they fare, wins and losses wise. How they perform in those games, I think, is going to dictate how the rest of the season goes. So I think this is going to be a very good season for Southern. I just don't know where they're going to finish in the final standings because the West is going to be a dogfight. So that's going to do it for today's show. I'd like to thank y'all for tuning in. Like I said, we have our TSU preview coming on Wednesday, and Pine Bluff wraps up the series on next Sunday. And SWAC Smoke will be live on Thursday, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, as usual. We may have a show in between here and there. I don't know yet. Might throw something together and put it out. But like I said, that's going to do it for us. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And make sure you hit that join button to become a member. Don't forget to go ahead and check out those young man's shirts that we have, man. Go ahead and check those out. And check out all the other SWAC Talk merch that we have in the store. With that being said, man, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Seawell signing out, and I will catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.